It is also my pleasure to bestow the Distinguished Alumnus Award 2015 to Sean Casey, class of 2004. May I ask Sean to come up to the podium? Sean Casey, you are a shining exemplar of the AUP Global Explorer. When you came to the university in 2000, you had hardly traveled beyond King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, but you already knew you wanted to live a bigger life. Today, you've lived in 9 countries, worked in more than 20 others, and visited 90. A seasoned humanitarian, an expert in disaster relief, you have focused your work on human rights and health, particularly post-conflict mental health, child protection, and LGBT rights. You have responded to emergencies in the Ukraine, the Philippines, Mali, South Sudan, and Haiti after the earthquake, where you worked alongside 5 other AUP alums, Facebooking back to campus. But the Ebola outbreak in West Africa last year called you to leadership more powerfully than anything else before it. The first person to be deployed to the region by International Medical Corps, you spent most of the past year overseeing and training a team of 1,300 doctors, nurses, infection control specialists, psychologists, program managers, and support staff of all kinds, serving over 1,500 patients in 5 specialized Ebola treatment units, and treating also the communities that suffered their losses and reintegrated them after treatment. Not a single health worker caught the disease on your watch. On May 9th, Liberia was declared Ebola-free, though the fight continues in Guinea and Sierra Leone, where the epidemic continues to spread. On vacation, at last, in Nepal a few weeks ago, taking a short break from the Ebola response to track tigers, you survived the earthquake while in the ancient capital city of Bhaktapur, where you were hit by falling bricks, but not injured. You then immediately deployed teams by helicopter to the most remote and badly damaged regions of the country, where you'll be returning tomorrow to continue the humanitarian relief, again alongside AUP alums. Wherever the world is hurting, you, Sean Casey, are there. An inspiration to all of us, we recognize you with pride and honor as AUP's Distinguished Alumnus of the Year. Sean has a few words for the class of 2015.
President Skank, members of the board, honorary degree recipients, distinguished guests, faculty, staff, parents, friends, and graduates of the class of 2015, thank you. Thank you so much for this great honor. Thank you for your support over this past year, a difficult year, and thank you for allowing me to continue to be a part of this incredible global community. The morning after I first arrived in Monrovia last August, I saw a pile of bodies at the city's main Ebola treatment unit. People were dying faster than they could be buried. Ambulances with sirens wailing drove up and down the city's main road, desperately looking for bed space that didn't yet exist. My team and I spent the coming weeks and months running a marathon, but at a sprinter's pace, trying to establish additional Ebola treatment units in both Liberia and Sierra Leone, and to train hundreds of health workers to care for Ebola patients safely, something none of us had ever done before. Time was of the essence to stop this thing, but it wasn't going to end quickly or easily. And actually, we're still fighting it today, particularly in Sierra Leone and Guinea. Last October, after several months in this fight, and having successfully launched what became one of the most critical Ebola treatment units in the region, I took my first trip out of what we were then calling Ebola Island. I came to Europe to do some media on the Ebola situation and to have a short break. I had planned to attend AUP events in both London and Paris during my week out, and I was looking forward to reconnecting with old friends. The day I arrived in London, though, as I was preparing to head to a television studio for my first interview, I received a call telling me that they would have to do it by Skype, as this particular channel didn't want someone fresh from the Ebola outbreak in their building. I didn't have much of a choice, so I did the interview by Skype from my hotel room just down the road from the studio. Just after that interview, President Skank called me in my London hotel room, a call she since described as one of the hardest she's ever had to make, with a similar message. I had planned to attend an alumni event in London that evening, as well as the annual State of the University speech in Paris a few days later, but President Skank informed me that some members of our community were nervous about my presence, since I had been working inside an Ebola treatment unit only a few days before. The international press was full of stories about Ebola in Texas and New York, and panic was sweeping the world. She asked me not to attend those events, acknowledging that she understood that I was safe, but recognizing that not everyone would agree with that assessment. I was upset about the situation, and I told President Skank as much. I was frustrated that a university community, where facts should trump speculation, would take this kind of a stance. I felt like an outcast from my own community. It was tough, but it did get better. That same night, after hearing that I had been asked not to attend the alumni cocktail in London, a small rogue group left the event to take me out for a drink. If I couldn't join them, they would bring the party to me. The next week, President Skank made her State of the University address and dedicated much of it to a heartfelt, passionate discussion about this controversy that I had inadvertently stirred. In the weeks that followed, you, the AUP community, launched Ebola awareness campaigns on campus and online. You raised thousands of euros to support our work, and several of you reached out to me directly to ask how you could help. It was incredibly heartening. I'd like to thank President Skank for instigating this conversation that ended up taking place inside the walls of AUP, and all the members of the AUP community who mobilized to support our work from afar. I remain a proud member of the AUP community and continue to be humbled by your engagement, your generosity, and your compassion. President Skank asked me to round out my comments this morning with a few words on how I ended up where I am now, and reflecting on how AUP contributed to who I am and what I do. I can think of no better reference to simultaneously look back at how I've been shaped and to offer some guidance to new graduates than, well, my tattoos. Much to the consternation of my poor mother, who often doesn't even know what country I'm in, I have 3 tattoos, all of them quotations. The first is a Hemingway line that I'm sure many of you know, which reads, "If you are lucky enough to have lived in Paris as a young man, then wherever you go for the rest of your life, it stays with you, for Paris is a movable feast." The second, on my left forearm, quotes the eminent Oscar Wilde. "To live is the rarest thing in the world," he wrote. "Most people exist, that is all." Finally, on my right shoulder are words from the great Nelson Mandela. I had the distinct privilege of seeing Madiba in person in Cape Town in 2002 when I was doing a semester abroad from here, a night that I'll never forget. His words and his ways have guided many decisions in my life, big and small, ever since. He said, "May your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears." Like many of us here, I was very lucky to have lived in Paris as a young man, and the feast that was that experience has moved with me ever since. My time here represented the start of me really living, not just existing. And AUP taught me, among many other lessons, that I should seize the opportunities before me and not be bound by my fears. Since graduating in 2004, I've bounced around the world quite a bit. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have worked on some of the most pressing human rights issues of our time, and to have had the opportunity to lead responses to some of the most urgent humanitarian crises in recent memory. I helped to establish an underground railroad to smuggle gay Iraqis to safety through Syria and Lebanon in 2009. I led responses to the Haiti earthquake in 2010 and to Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013. I've held the hands of Rohingya children in Burma and witnessed firsthand the ethnic cleansing that has gone all but unaddressed there for years, and which we're now seeing play out in the Andaman Sea. This time last year, I worked to support hospitals in eastern Ukraine as bombs dropped around my colleagues and me. For much of the last year, I've been part of one of the largest humanitarian initiatives of the past decade to stop Ebola from ravaging West Africa and beyond. And most recently, I led International Medical Corps' response to the devastating Nepal earthquake, where, as President Skank indicated, I happened to have arrived on vacation one day before. And wouldn't you know, I had two fellow AUP alums working alongside me there. AUP set me on this wild and wonderful path and prepared me well for it. I'm grateful for having had this opportunity, and I hope all of you are as well. This is a special place that produces special people. People like us who walk away from this experience with unique capacity and unique responsibility. Graduates, my friends, I hope you find your path, circuitous as it may be, just like I have. I hope this feast will stay with you for the rest of your lives. I hope you'll live every single day and every single opportunity, and that you'll be guided by your hopes and not your fears. I hope you'll do great things for yourselves and for this world. I have no doubt that you will. Thank you again, and congratulations to the class of 2015.